the OB1 Plus, exclusively at the home.
Well, good morning. It is 7:25. Welcome back to the morning show. And our resident wise guy is in the building. And
right.
We kind of left off with the last segment. You were talking to Ann about clouds, and I kind of want to make a note on the, I guess, phenomenon of green skies, because
excellent.
You hadn't known that much about it.
I don't know anything about it.
This is something that was a really big topic in a lot of my weather classes whenever I was in college. And what happens is, with tornadic storms, obviously the green sky doesn't have to be involved with tornadic storms. It normally occurs with storms that have hailstones, because whenever the light that passes through the clouds, it makes them either light or dark. Whenever the light passes through the hailstone, instead of refracting through that kind of white color, it actually refracts green into the cloud. So it turns a different color than what you would normally see.
Wow. Well, here I am trying to talk about weather, and you're the weather expert, so I feel silly, but that's excellent. Well, that's fantastic. Well, you know, so clouds are the best time to look for clouds, because they're very interesting. No two clouds are ever the same, and you can lay there on your back and you can stare up at the clouds and imagine what they are and stuff like that. But the time to look for clouds is when you have a low pressure system. Then quite often what will happen is the air will rush in from the outside, and then it'll force the air upward. So whenever you have vertical motion of moist air and it goes upward, the pressure goes down, the temperature goes down, and you get clouds. Yep. So that's when you're going to get clouds. And also when you have fronts meet, like a warm front and a cold front. Am I doing this right?
Yes, okay. You are. Yeah, you're doing good.
Here comes a warm front, here comes a cold front. The cold front will go underneath the warm front because it's heavier, and the warm air will just be forced upward, and then it'll cool off, and you'll get clouds that way. Yep. So now on days when it's very, very cold, it tends to be no clouds at all, because you have no moisture content, very low moisture content, because of the temperature being low, and so you have very clear days when it's cold out. Okay, so anyways, I wanted to mention in a few brief seconds, people often look up and you see airplanes going very high in the sky, and you see these little white lines between the airplanes.
Right behind them.
Those are actually just like little clouds, and jet engines emit gases as a part of their exhaust, and part of those gases are just water. So it's really just like somebody breathing out on a cold day. When you get the mist from your mouth, that's really what's coming off the jet engine. And so that's what that is. It's not any chemicals being sprayed on the earth by the government.
Lots of moisture condensing. Right.
Well, actually, if you look on the web, there's a lot of kooky websites where they claim that people are spraying chemicals on you and stuff like this. Yes, it's interesting. So anyways, that's not true. Okay, so what I wanted to do is, the very last thing Sam and Ruth asked about, the balloon trick I did for Rob's birthday. So I have here this liquid nitrogen, which is cold, and I'm just going to show you what happens when I stick a balloon into it, because the balloon is filled with air, which is mostly nitrogen, and when I get it really cold, it turns into a liquid. And so what's happening now is all the air that's in this balloon, you can see the balloon shrinking. Yeah. It's not that the balloon is leaking or anything like that. It's just that all the air that's inside of it is turning into a liquid and is pooling in the bottom. And I'll show you the little puddle of liquid air here in a second.
And all the air is just condensing, turning into...
It's condensing, it's getting really cold, and it's turning into a liquid. It's just like water vapor turning into water, but air does it at a much colder temperature. It's a couple of hundred degrees below zero. And so...
it's tiny now.
That's why I got to watch my fingers.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your fingers today.
No, I don't. So if you do this, do you see the little puddle? Can you zoom in on that?
I can see it. Oh, yeah, you can see it on the camera there.
Yes, there's a little puddle in the bottom. That's the air that's turned into a liquid. Now, this liquid is really cold, and it starts to boil right away. You can tell it's got little bubbles in it, and as it boils, it turns back into a gas, and so it blows the balloon back up again. And since it's really little when it's a liquid in there, you can just stick lots and lots of balloons.
And this is what you did for Rob's birthday.
This is what I did for Rob's birthday. Right, and so all you need to have, 100 balloons in a little tiny container is some liquid nitrogen, which isn't so easy to get a hold of. But
all right, well, Matt, that's all the time we have today, but thank you for addressing those questions for our viewers out there. All right, we'll be back with more on the morning show coming up here in just a couple of minutes, so stick with us. And if you want to see this again, just go on to the morning, or go on to IllinoisHomepage.net, or you can always send Matt your questions at wiseguy.net. Stay with us.
I made a dog.
This portion of the news is brought to you by